I'll have to tell you the honest truth. I look at you as we're singing hymns, singing songs of the CD, and I just look at the people. And you know what I see most everywhere? Was joy of some kind. Just joy. I see a smile on your face, and I see love, and I see compassion, and all the things that you're supposed to see. When I look at y'all, I see that. You got it going on. I want to share with you for a moment about David's mighty men. You ever heard about David's mighty men? This is out of 2 Samuel. I'm going to be reading out of chapter 23, beginning with about verse 8. 2 Samuel 23, beginning with verse 8. These are the names of David's mighty men. Josheb-Basabeth, a Talcumite, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men, whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Omite. As one of the three mighty men, he was with David when they taunted the Philistines, gathered at Pashaddam for battle. Then the men of Israel retreated, but he stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. The troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. Next to him was Shammah, son of Agi the Harathite. When the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, Israel's troops fled from them. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field. He defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. This is God's word for God's people.
Praise be to God.
This was a time in David's life when David had been appointed king. It wasn't by the General Assembly, it wasn't by the council, it wasn't by any other person, but God appointed him king. The nation of Israel wanted a king, so God appointed David. Now Saul was still in power. Saul was still trying to run the nation. But he was doing a terrible job, and he was given every opportunity to straighten up and do what was expected. But David was fleeing for his life. There was much uncertainty in David's life at this time. But David was doing everything he could to be the man that God wanted him to be. All of a sudden, it seemed like there were many mighty men began to flood to David, to begin to help him, to begin to fight, to be battle warriors for him. These men just seemed to come from everywhere. Everywhere David was at, these mighty men began to come out. And we have listed these three that were called his mighty men. Now, if you could you imagine being in one of these books and being called a mighty man, a mighty warrior, and list you and talk about you and tell you the accomplishments that you had done? Can you imagine the greatness that must have been with these men? They stood and they fought for David and they battled for David. They did everything that David needed to keep him alive. Let's go a little bit different. They did everything God needed to keep him alive. David was God's man at that time.
Amen.
And these men began to stand and battle for David. They gave up everything that they had to begin to form an allegiance, to form a mighty army. And these three men would be called the leaders of that army. Today, guys, we need mighty dads that will stand up. We need mighty men that will stand for God's word.
Amen.
What this is about.
Amen.
We need mighty men, mighty dads who will not be afraid to show their children right and wrong. We need mighty men who will recover and start over and begin to be the person that God wanted them to be in that battle. You see, we're all going through a battle, one way or the other. And these mighty men have to stand up. I remember raising our kids, our 3 boys, and our daughter. She was a little athletic. She did a little, she played a little softball and different things, but it really wasn't her thing. But the 2 boys, Jim and Garrett, the middle ones, were the ones who liked to play ball. They were the athletes. And it took somebody to show them how to play. Yeah. For a little while. Used to go out there, and sometimes, being the dad, I could be the shortstop. Or maybe I needed to be the pitcher. Maybe I needed to be the one who was the catcher back behind. Maybe I needed to be the one who would tip the ball to one of them where they could score the basket. Maybe I just needed to be on defense and let them play. But you know, the funny thing about it, as the innings begin to grow in our life, maybe I was moved to the outfield. Maybe they began to take on a different perspective of the ball game. And it got to where that I was no longer the teacher. I was the one being schooled. The boys began to overpower me, beat me. So my position changed from pitcher, maybe a shooter, to maybe just being on the bench sometimes. You see, the dad's world changes from time to time, where sometimes maybe you're not the most important thing in their life as they're growing. And they begin to realize there's other places, other positions, other things going on out there. But we're always called, whether we're at shortstop or pitcher, or whether we're at left field or right field. Whatever position we take, whatever position we are able to have with our children at that time, we're called to be the dad. We're called to be the mighty man of the family. And sometimes we fail. But you know what? We have a God who will dust us off and set us back upon our feet. We have a God of forgiveness. Sometimes even our kids disappoint us. And we have to be the man who says, that's all right. That's all right. You see, we serve different positions in our kids' life. As they get a little older, we become a little less needed maybe. They move on, they find a husband, find a wife, and things change. But as a dad, you're always excited when your kids come home. It doesn't matter if you've seen them just last week or the day before. When they come back, you're always excited that they're there. We need mighty men and mighty dads who will stand up and stand in battle to help these young people, as long as we can have that position of shortstop or pitcher, whatever it may be. The mighty dads. We need them to step up. Now, I'm going off base here a minute, but our younger son and his wife do not have children. But he's a pretty good uncle. He's a pretty good uncle. I've seen him give those kids money and things and just doing for them. So I look at him and I see a mighty man. I see a mighty young man. Our son-in-law, we couldn't have picked one any better. He loves our daughter. loves the kids, works, does whatever is needed. These are mighty men that you need in your lives. Mighty men. You need the mighty dads, don't you? What is it? Kung Fu? Jiu-Jitsu? Jiu-Jitsu. You need somebody you can throw around a little bit, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I've got a little grandson here that's wanting to do the black belt stuff on me, and I do. You're not doing that. But we need mighty men. And what happens, guys? These young kids, young boys, young men that you're beginning to help, to teach, and to raise, one of these days they're going to look at the mighty men that's in their lives. And they're going to look at the seasons that have passed and realized all the joy that now that their children bring to them. And it was the same joy that we have today. Mighty men. We need mighty men of God who are willing to stand up and battle. Who are willing to fight for your families, fight for the community, be ready to stand tall and strong in the church. Not be afraid to show what God has done for you. How God has moved you, how God has touched your life. But be that mighty man of God in front of your children. If you're like me, we have all failed sometime or the other. Somehow or the other, we have all failed. But it's about the forgiveness of God, forgiveness of family, forgiveness of children. It's about being that mighty person. Standing strong, standing up for God, being willing to battle, and being willing to give your life for the purpose. You know a mighty man? You know a mighty dad in your life? I've seen pictures on Facebook of children who have just remembered their parents or their dads on this day. Just a picture thrown up that maybe you haven't seen for 30 or 40 years, and there's that picture. Brings back memories. Brings back memories of your parents, of your dad, of all the things that you shared. Remember that person in your life today. That person is not going to be there all the time. But they'll always have a place in your heart. Anyone want to share anything special about their dad? Anybody? We're going to close if you don't.
I do.
Who is it?
I do.
Stand up where they can hear you.
No, my grandchildren never met my daddy. But if you see my son, you see my daddy. Every time I see him, I'm blown away because not only does he look like my daddy, he's built like my daddy, and he has some of my daddy's mannerisms. I don't even know if he remembers my daddy did. And it just brings back such great memories that my daddy went to be with the Lord 21 years ago, but there's a part of him still alive.
Amen. Anybody else?
My father-in-law was one of the most kind, loving, generous men ever. And he loved me especially.
Anybody? Angela? What are we going to say?
You got that one, right?
Scared you, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, what am I going to say?
I am thine, O Lord.
I am thine. Stand with me.
What number?
Celebrate your dad today.
419, verse 7.
mighty men to stand up and to close our service in prayer this morning. Who will do that? Step up, mighty dads. Father, I only know how. Stop.
We have so much to be thankful for. The love you put in all our lives. My words just don't come out. Help us to just be what you would have us be throughout this life that we live in this world. For those dads that are not here, we just thank you for the time they work here. Some memories. And just something we can cherish forever. Just thank you, Lord, for all that you have done and all that we can do for that you will do in our lives. In Christ Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
record it like that. And that happens quite a bit. I mean, I didn't remember all those words in it, but yeah, that's a great song.
Put in some of the
Yeah.
that came up and it sounded like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the Google you just put in word.
Oh, yeah.
So that came up.
And it came up.
It sounded like
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't.
You didn't sing it last time.
I didn't know if it was appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, I have problems, Joanne, with that. Wondering if I should, sing like a honky tonk song. It's supposed to be praising the gospel and everything. I don't know if I should sing it. Yeah.
Well, but everybody, we get other things. Everything comes up.
Yeah. Oh, Roger and Jerry, I always enjoy them. I'm glad they came.